Have you ever wondered why the quietest person in the room often holds the most power? It's not because they shout louder or demand attention. In fact, it's quite the opposite. True power hides in silence, in the ability to remain calm and unreadable while chaos swirls around you. The loudest voices may grab the spotlight, but it's the silent presence that commands real respect and even fear. Why? Because when you stop reacting to others, you become unpredictable, mysterious, and impossible to control. People don't fear what they understand. They fear what they can't predict. This silent power is the kind that unsettles others without you ever having to raise your voice. Today, you'll learn the secrets behind this invisible strength. The psychological rules that once mastered make you someone no one dares to underestimate. Ready to discover what it takes to be truly feared? Let's begin. In a world obsessed with noise, constant chatter, endless explanations, and non-stop reactions, silence can be your most powerful weapon. It's a paradox. By saying less, you say more. When others rush to fill every pause with words, you choose to hold back, letting the silence do the heavy lifting. Why does this matter? Because silence forces people to confront themselves. It's in that quiet space that others become unsettled, revealing their true thoughts, fears, and intentions. Imagine a heated conversation where everyone is clamoring to be heard. Someone who remains calm and silent in that moment holds the invisible reins. Others will lean in anxious to fill the silence with their opinions, their confessions, or their mistakes. Your silence is like a mirror. They see their own vulnerabilities reflected back at them, and that reflection makes them uneasy. They expect a reaction, an explanation, or a defense. When you deny them that, you take away their control. Suddenly, the balance of power shifts. This is no accident. Silence disarms because it is unpredictable. It refuses to engage on someone else's terms. Most people react instinctively, driven by emotion or the need to be understood. But when you stop reacting, you become unreadable. You break the predictable patterns that others rely on to manipulate or anticipate your next move. By not reacting immediately, you create a void that compels others to fill it. And often they fill it with their own weaknesses. Consider the psychological impact of silence in social or professional settings. When you choose not to answer a provocative question, or when you pause deliberately before speaking, you force others to become impatient or even anxious. That discomfort is power. It shifts the energy from you to them. They start questioning their own assumptions. Why won't they respond? What are they hiding? What do they know that I don't? This uncertainty breeds respect and sometimes fear. Let's take a real-world example. Think of a skilled negotiator who doesn't rush to justify or defend their position. Instead, they listen intently and answer only when it's advantageous. Opponents unsure how to read their silence may over-explain or reveal concessions they hadn't intended to share. The silence becomes a strategic tool, a way to extract information and assert dominance without saying a word. But silence is not just about what you don't say. It's about cultivating discipline over your impulses. In today's fast-paced culture, where immediate responses are expected, holding back can feel unnatural. Yet that restraint is exactly what sets you apart. It demonstrates control over your own emotions and a refusal to be manipulated by the demands of others. This is the foundation of being ungovernable. Someone no one can easily predict, provoke, or sway. This idea extends beyond just personal interactions. Think about leadership and influence. Great leaders in history often spoke sparingly, but with purpose. Their words carried weight because they were rare and intentional. Silence allowed their presence to grow larger than life. When they finally spoke, everyone listened. Their silence was not emptiness. It was strategy. It protected their power and kept their opponents guessing. It's important to understand that wielding silence as a weapon is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about choosing your moments wisely, knowing when silence empowers you and when speech advances your cause. It's about creating space for observation, for learning others' true intentions, and for guarding your own inner world. Silence is the calm before the storm, the pause that signals strength rather than weakness. Furthermore, silence compels respect because it signals that you are not desperate for approval or validation. When you don't rush to explain yourself, you deny others the satisfaction of undermining you. Instead, you maintain an aura of confidence and self-possession. This confidence is contagious. People naturally gravitate toward those who seem grounded and unshakable. However, silence also demands patience. It requires resisting the urge to fill uncomfortable spaces with noise or justification. The world rewards those who speak up quickly, but true power often comes to those who wait, who watch, listen, and then act with precision. This discipline separates leaders from followers, masters from puppets. In a society addicted to constant feedback and immediate responses, silence feels like rebellion. But it is a rebellion grounded in strategy, not impulsiveness. It teaches others that you cannot be controlled by their provocations or expectations. This alone is a profound shift in power dynamics. As you begin to embrace silence, you'll notice subtle changes. People will try harder to get a reaction from you. They'll test your boundaries, push your buttons, and attempt to fill the quiet with their own noise. This is the moment to stand firm, to show that your silence is not weakness, but a fortress. Over time, this quiet strength will become your signature. It will unsettle those who wish to control you and inspire respect from those who value true power. But silence is only the beginning. To fully embody the power Machiavelli describes, you must also master the art of unpredictability, never allowing others to guess your next move, your true feelings, or your intentions. When combined, silence and unpredictability form an unbreakable shield, making you a force few dare to challenge. If silence is your shield, unpredictability is your fortress. Predictability is the hidden vulnerability that almost everyone falls prey to. When people can anticipate your reactions, they gain control. They learn exactly which buttons to push, what words to say, and when to strike. But when you break free from these patterns, you become an enigma impossible to grasp and therefore impossible to control. Being unpredictable means mastering restraint and discipline in your behavior. It means responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. It means sometimes agreeing, sometimes disagreeing, and always keeping others guessing. When your responses are measured and your intentions well guarded, you confuse those who seek to manipulate you. They can no longer map your emotional terrain because it shifts constantly beneath their feet. This unpredictability creates a natural boundary around you. It demands respect because people never want to offend or provoke someone they can't read. The uncertainty you cultivate becomes a form of power, all its own one, that protects you from being exploited or undermined. History offers countless examples. Think of leaders like Winston Churchill or Sun Tzu, masters of calculated unpredictability, who kept opponents off balance. Their movements were deliberate, their words measured, and their true intentions hidden until the perfect moment. By never revealing all their cards, they preserved the upper hand. In everyday life, unpredictability can look like choosing silence when expected to react, shifting your priorities without warning, or refusing to be boxed into expectations. It's a way of saying without words that you cannot be owned or predicted. And that alone makes you dangerous. Combined with silence, unpredictability makes you not just ungovernable, but untouchable. You are no longer a puppet on strings that others can pull. Instead, you become the unseen force that sets the pace and terms of engagement. While silence and unpredictability form the backbone of strategic power, mastering your emotions is the heart that keeps it alive. Emotional mastery isn't about becoming cold or unfeeling. Rather, it's about gaining control over your reactions so that your emotions serve you, not the other way around. When you surrender to every impulse or lash out in anger, you hand over your power to those who know how to provoke you. Manipulators thrive on emotional responses. They know exactly which triggers will ignite your rage, guilt, or insecurity, and they use this knowledge to bend you to their will. But when you learn to pause, observe, and choose your response deliberately, you break their hold. You become unpredictable, not just in your actions, but in your feelings. And that unpredictability is a fortress few can breach. Selective vulnerability is the next layer of this mastery. True power lies in choosing carefully when, where, and to whom you reveal your inner self. Oversharing or showing raw emotions indiscriminately is an open invitation for exploitation. But sharing strategically, opening up only to those who have earned your trust and respect, builds genuine connection and shields you from harm. Think of it this way. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's a tool. Like any tool, it must be used skillfully. Leaders, warriors, and survivors throughout history have known this. They revealed their wounds only to those who would not exploit them, creating loyalty rather than weakness. This kind of vulnerability is a calculated risk, one that strengthens rather than diminishes your power. Cultivating emotional mastery and selective vulnerability requires self-awareness and discipline. It means understanding your triggers, recognizing when you're being manipulated, and maintaining control even when provoked. This is no easy task in a world that rewards immediate reactions and emotional transparency. But it is essential if you want to be feared, respected, and truly free. As you develop these skills, you will notice a profound change. People will sense your control and hesitate before trying to manipulate or provoke you. They'll realize that you are not a pawn to be moved at will, but a player with your own agenda, unpredictable, disciplined, and powerful. But this journey doesn't end here. There are deeper forces at work, the invisible leashes of guilt, flattery, and approval that you must learn to recognize and cut if you want to be truly sovereign. One of the most overlooked yet deeply powerful ways people lose their freedom is through invisible chains, guilt, flattery, and the desperate hunger for approval. These emotional leashes are subtle but effective tools others use to keep you compliant, exhausted, and predictable. The tragic part. Most people willingly tie these chains around their own wrists, believing their submission is kindness, humility, or responsibility. Guilt is perhaps the most crippling of these forces. It's the quiet voice inside that says, you must say yes, even when your instincts scream no. It's the pressure to apologize for things you didn't do wrong, just to avoid conflict or discomfort. We have all been there, agreeing to commitments we don't want, swallowing our truth, or over-explaining ourselves simply because we feel guilty for asserting boundaries. This automatic submission hands control to others without them ever needing to demand it explicitly. Manipulators don't have to threaten or coerce. They just need to make you feel responsible for their emotions, their happiness, or their expectations. Think about how often you've rushed to soothe someone's disappointment or quell their anger only to find yourself drained and compromised. That's guilt's quiet trap. It masquerades as care, but it actually enslaves you. The more you give in to guilt, the more others expect, and the deeper the leash tightens. This leash doesn't have a physical form, but its grip can feel stronger than any chain. Flattery, too, is a weapon cloaked in sweetness. Compliments about your generosity, patience, loyalty, or kindness are not always genuine praise. Often they are carefully crafted bait, designed to secure your continued service. Flattery feeds on the universal human craving for validation. We all want to be seen and appreciated, but manipulators exploit this desire. They know that when they stroke your ego, you'll bend further to meet their demands. You might work harder, give more time or sacrifice more energy just to keep earning that praise. The danger lies in the dependency that praise creates. When your sense of worth becomes tied to others' approval, you surrender your sovereignty. You no longer act freely, you act to please. You start making decisions based on what others expect or want to hear, rather than what aligns with your true self. And the moment your validation comes from outside, you are vulnerable to being controlled through it. Breaking these leashes is one of the most difficult, yet liberating steps on the path to power. It requires a profound shift in mindset and behavior. You must learn to set clear boundaries without the crutch of apology. Saying no needs to be clean, firm, and final, without cushioning or explanation. You have to accept that others will misunderstand you, resent you, or even hate you for it, and be willing to stand firm regardless. This is not cruelty. It is self-preservation. Imagine a life where your decisions aren't driven by the need to avoid guilt or win approval, but by your own values and needs. That freedom is intoxicating. It allows you to act with clarity and purpose. People will test you, trying to pull you back into old patterns with guilt trips or flattery, but each refusal strengthens your independence. This transformation demands discipline and patience. At first, standing firm against these invisible leashes may feel like cruelty or selfishness. Friends or family might accuse you of being cold or unkind. You may feel isolated or misunderstood. But every boundary you maintain without apology is a declaration of your autonomy. Each time you resist guilt's pull, you chip away at the chains others tried to fasten to you. Moreover, learning to let go of the hunger for approval rewires your relationship with yourself and others. You no longer seek validation to feel worthy. Instead, you find worth within making you resilient to manipulation. When praise comes, you accept it graciously, but without dependency. When criticism or disappointment arise, you do not crumble, but hold your ground. This shift also clarifies your relationships. Those who respect your boundaries and autonomy will stay and adapt. Others who cannot accept your new stance will drift away, and that is a victory, not a loss. Because power is not about pleasing everyone. It's about commanding respect and living authentically. Once you master cutting these emotional leashes, you build a strong foundation for an even deeper level of power, the power that comes from scarcity and absence. When you stop giving yourself away too freely and start protecting your energy, your presence becomes rare and valuable. And as anyone who understands human nature knows, scarcity creates respect. In a world that constantly demands your attention, time and energy scarcity becomes a surprising but powerful weapon. The more available you are, the less you are valued. When you say yes too often, when you are always present and always giving, people start to take you for granted. They assume your energy is infinite and your presence is guaranteed. This assumption erodes respect and diminishes your influence. Scarcity reverses this dynamic. By becoming less accessible, you increase your value. When your attention and time are seen as precious commodities, others treat you differently. They begin to notice what they miss when you are not around. Your absence creates a vacuum that highlights your true worth. People cherish what they cannot easily have. They respect what requires effort to gain. Think of scarcity as a form of self-respect. It's not about playing games or manipulation, but about protecting your resources, your energy focus, and peace of mind. When you learn to say no without guilt and withdraw from those who drain you, you set the terms for how others can engage with you. You make your presence a privilege, not a right. This principle applies in all areas of life: relationships, work, friendships. The colleague who is always available might be relied on but rarely respected. The friend who constantly says yes may be loved, but also exploited. But the person who guards their time carefully becomes someone whose attention is coveted and whose boundaries are honored. Absence is not about avoidance or cowardice. It's a strategic choice. It's about choosing peace over chaos and dignity over desperate approval. When you step away from drama, from constant demands, and from the need to be liked, you reclaim control. People start to wonder about you, to value your contributions more, and to approach you with greater respect. Consider the power of silence again, this time combined with absence. When you refuse to explain yourself or justify your choices, and then walk away without looking back, you create a lasting impression. This is the power of absence. It forces others to confront the space you once filled and to recognize the value they took for granted. But this path is not easy. Choosing scarcity and absence means enduring discomfort. You will be misunderstood, labeled selfish, or accused of abandoning others. People will test your resolve, push your boundaries, and attempt to pull you back into old patterns of availability and explanation. This resistance is the price of your freedom. Yet those who persist find a deeper kind of power, a power that does not depend on being everywhere at once or saying everything to everyone. It is the power to choose where, when, and how to show up. It is the power to be missed, to be sought after, and to be respected on your own terms. Theory becomes powerful only when we see it reflected in real life. The principles of silence, unpredictability, emotional mastery, and scarcity are not abstract concepts. They have been lived and proven by some of history's most formidable figures and successful people today. Take, for example, the legendary General George S. Patton. Known for his commanding presence and sharp strategic mind, Patton often employed silence to unsettle both his enemies and his own troops. He rarely revealed his full plan and carefully controlled what he said, making his actions unpredictable. His calm under pressure and refusal to react emotionally made him a leader respected and feared in equal measure. In the business world, Warren Buffett is a master of emotional control and patience. Known for his unshakable calm during market chaos, Buffett doesn't rush into decisions or get swayed by fleeting emotions or popular opinion. His selective communication style and strategic scarcity, choosing when and how to engage publicly, have built an aura of trust and power. People listen because he speaks with purpose and never wastes words. Closer to everyday life, consider a skilled negotiator who uses silence as a tactic. When faced with a tough bargaining partner, this negotiator resists the urge to respond immediately to provocations or offers. Instead, they stay calm, allowing the silence to pressure the other party into revealing more than intended or making concessions. This approach not only shifts the power balance, but also builds the negotiator's reputation as someone not to be rushed or manipulated. These examples illustrate a common thread. Those who master these psychological truths do not rely on force or volume. They rely on strategy, discipline, and an understanding of human nature. Their power lies in their ability to control themselves and the environment around them by using silence, unpredictability, and scarcity as tools. As you reflect on these stories, consider how you can apply these principles in your own life, whether in personal relationships, work, or moments of conflict. The real test of power is not how loud you can be, but how effectively you can influence and control situations without losing your composure or giving away your leverage. And as you prepare to harness these insights, remember that the final lesson, the ultimate takeaway, ties all these truths together into a powerful message about freedom, respect, and self-mastery. All these truths lead to one profound realization. True power begins with mastering yourself. It's the discipline to remain silent when provoked, the courage to be unpredictable, the strength to control your emotions, and the wisdom to set boundaries without apology. It is in this self-mastery that freedom is born, freedom from being manipulated, controlled, or defined by others. The world may never love the person who refuses to be anyone's puppet. You might be labeled cold, distant, or difficult, but love is fleeting and often conditional. Respect is enduring and demands acknowledgement of your boundaries and strength. When you stop chasing approval and start commanding respect through your presence, silence, and actions, you change the dynamic completely. You become someone who doesn't just survive in a world ruled by ambition and fear, you thrive. People will fear disappointing you, hesitate before testing your limits, and learn to treat you as a force to reckon with. This respect is far more reliable than affection, because it is rooted in the undeniable truth of your self-possession. Remember, the most dangerous person is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who says the least and commands the room with calm, unwavering power. To walk this path requires sacrifice, discomfort, and sometimes loneliness. But in exchange, you gain the ultimate prize, your freedom. So begin today. Embrace silence as your shield, unpredictability as your armor, and emotional mastery as your sword. Cut the leashes of guilt and flattery. Guard your time and presence fiercely. Learn when to walk away without apology and when to stand firm without explanation. This is the art of becoming truly feared and respected. Because at the end of the day, they will fear you if you learn this.